You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
The number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Lots to get into as it pertains to the NFL draft approaching. Our very own Todd McShay will be on with us in hour number 2 to talk to us about some of the things percolating in the world of sports as it pertains to the NFL draft. The Jets and the Giants at the 3 and number 2 pick, respectively. The Cleveland Browns with the 1st and 4th overall pick. Denver's in the mix. Who knows what they're going to do in terms of what kind of quarterback they're going to take. Whole bunch of stuff to think about, whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and we most certainly will right here today on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let me tell y'all something. I sat up here and I watched a couple of things. Number one, let me say this, okay? I will get into Giancarlo Stanton a little bit later. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to tell you right now, I know, listen, I got basketball on my mind, I got football on my mind, but I just got to get this off my chest before we even start anywhere. I am proud and happy to have Giancarlo Stanton on the New York Yankees. A monster. 59 home runs last season. National League MVP. I get all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, just as an aside before I even get on the way with my show, you can't strike out 5 times. I'm not even getting into the fact that it's the home opener. It's the first time in those great Yankee pinstripes with the 27 World Series championship, the greatest franchise in sports the greatest franchise in the history of sports. I'm not even getting into any of that. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't strike out 5 times in the same day. You just can't do it. I understand it's baseball. I understand some things happen. I understand having a bad day going 0 for 5. That's not a big deal. I understand you're batting .211 right now. It's not a big deal. I get all of that. You can't strike out 5 times in the same day. That's just not good. That's just not good. So I just want to get that off my chest before I get on with some real news that's going on, because I got a couple of things on my mind involving the Los Angeles Rams. I got a couple of things on my mind involving the Cavs and the Raptors last night, the Raptors and the Celtics tonight. I got a few things on my mind. But I just wanted to get that off my chest so I didn't allow it to linger and cause me stress. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew you can't strike out 5 times in the same damn day. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Period. Not 5 times. Step a little bit closer into the plate, Giancarlo Stanton. Stop staying so far away from the plate. Get up on the plate a little bit more like Barry Bonds used to do so you can hit every damn thing. Instead of them throwing it low and outside or forcing you to chase balls where you're striking out 163 times like you did last year. Please stop it. Now that I've gotten that off my chest, and I'm able to revisit more pertinent matters, let me say this. The NFL draft is really, really starting to interest me even more so. And even though it's not about the draft right now because of what the Los Angeles Rams are doing, it's just got me paying rabid attention to what's transpiring. The New England Patriots trade Brandon Cooks. The Los Angeles Rams have Brandon Cooks on their squad. Now they got Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib and Ndamukong Suh to go with Brandon Cooks, to add him to Todd Gurley and Jared Goff. Let me tell you something right now. Philadelphia Eagles may be the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. But unless you're assuming there's a significant upgrade from Nick Foles to Carson Wentz, based on the Nick Foles that you saw for those 3 playoff games, I got news for you. A legitimate argument can be made that the Los Angeles Rams should be the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know what the hell is going on right now, and I don't know how comfortable to feel about it, because Sean McVay is 32 years old. The man that's the head coach for the Los Angeles Rams just turned 32 years old in January. I mean, he's a puppy. Wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. He can coach now, and he deserves credit for the year that he had last year. But when you got a coach this young, you would think you're not just going for it all like they appear to be doing right now at this particular juncture, this particular moment in time. And I'm not necessarily knocking them for it. I'm simply making the point that if indeed you are the Los Angeles Rams franchise, I would sit up there and ask a very, very simple question. The kind of players that you're going with and the kind of players you're after, I got love for Aqib Talib. Marcus Peters may be a headache, but damn it, he can ball, get over it. And then Ndamukong Suh can be a stud, particularly when you put him on the line with Brockers and Aaron Donald, and I get all of that. But if it goes south for any reason, where are you at then? These are the kind of questions I've got about the Rams right now. And when I look at it and I scour the NFC, and I'm thinking about the Eagles, and I'm thinking about the Cowboys who can't be ignored because I think their struggles last year was a byproduct of Ezekiel Elliott going down for 6 games because of his suspension. When I think about the return of Aaron Rodgers, when I think about how Cam Newton can't be counted out, when I think about Matt Ryan and his imminent contract extension and how Arthur Blank, the owner for the Falcons, is telling us there's nothing to worry about in that regard and everything is going to be just fine, so you expected him to be there. When I think about all of those things, it says to me, Giants got to do something. The Giants have to hit a home run with this upcoming NFL draft. They cannot relent. They cannot waver. They cannot struggle with this. They got to pick the right dude. And ladies and gentlemen, I got to admit to you, I'm at a point right now where I'm wondering, what the hell are they going to do? Because weeks ago, I heard so much about Saquon Barkley. I'm like, this dude is can't miss. It's going to help Eli Manning. You're not going to sit up there and bench Eli Manning. He's your quarterback for the next 2 years. You better get something to help him. But then I say to myself, if Saquon Barkley only carried the ball 20 plus times in 3 games last season, and he's not someone whose durability you can rely upon, he's not somebody you can give the ball to 20, 25 times a game, then why spend the number 2 pick on him? I mean, it's getting very, very interesting. On one hand, we got Darnold, that's expected to be taken number 1 overall by Cleveland. But then again, if Saquon Barkley's the best, what are you going to do with that if you're Cleveland? And if you pass on Darnold, if you're the Cleveland Browns, if you're the Giants, do you have to take Darnold knowing that you have Eli? And if you're the New York Jets, you've heard so many great things. Or you know so many great things about Baker Mayfield, a reigning Heisman Trophy winner. You've heard all of this. You know what he brings to the table. 83 touchdowns and just 14 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. But where it gets incredibly, incredibly interesting, and it absolutely positively can't be denied, is simply with this. What if Josh Rosen's the answer? What if he's the guy that you can't pass on? And oh, by the way, how should you feel about passing on him if indeed he's as problematic as Jim Mora came across as portraying him as? Now, in defense of Jim Mora, he may have been doing it to dissuade the Cleveland Browns from picking him because Josh Rosen, according to my sources, would prefer to be in New York. He's Jewish. It's a stronger Jewish community. He'd rather be in the New York market than the Cleveland market, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. But it's some of the things that we've heard. All of this stuff is percolating. Then Todd McShay, who's going to be on the show with us a little bit later on, has his mock draft. You can find that on ESPN.com right now. And he's talking about how Baker Mayfield may get slotted at 6th. Here's my problem with that. Who has the 6th pick? It's the Miami Dolphins. Well, damn it, that's near South Beach. And I'm one of those people who believes that there's a tremendous level of discipline that must be exercised for anybody looking to sit up there and prosper near South Beach. South Beach is temptation, y'all. Let me just put it out there. It's Temptation City. There's a lot going on in South Beach. It takes a special kind of young man to be able to deal with all the temptations that exist in South Beach. You can't just have anybody there. You can't just have a dude that, is accustomed to ingratiating himself with folks, is personable, is a bit eccentric, is talkative and loquacious, doesn't mind talking to the media, spouting off at the mouth. He's going to go on the field. He may ball, but in the same breath, as his star ascends, how will he react to all of that? These are all legitimate questions. New York, the bubble that it is why I would be a concern with that. South Beach, an entirely different scenario. New York is about activity, action, the bright lights of Broadway, the city that never sleeps. South Beach is an entirely different level of temptation. And it's very, very, very important to point that out and to dissect that when you're thinking about who your quarterback is going to be. Now, just a couple of years removed from giving Ryan Tannehill $65 million. These things are relevant because if you're the New York Jets, it's the kind of thing you got to think about. If you've got the number 3 pick, but there's speculation that the Dolphins might grab a quarterback at number 6, then it elevates the level of importance from the New York Jets to grab a quarterback at that 3rd slot. That's why you moved up from 6 to 3. That's why you moved up. Maybe I meant 5 instead of 6 or whatever the case may be, but if you're the Jets, you're at number 3. And if somebody within your division is going to grab one of those quarterbacks, it might elevate the importance for you to make sure you grab that quarterback instead of allowing them to do so. And that's where things get tricky. And that's the kind of stuff that the New York Jets have to pay attention to. There is no way around this, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff is getting tight. And it can't be ignored. And somehow, some way, you're the New York Giants, you're the New York Jets, you're going to have to figure it out. If you're the Rams, you've already figured it out. If you're the Cleveland Browns, it's more important to you than anybody that it gets figured out. No matter what way you slice it, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're living with right here, right now. And I apologize for bringing up Miami. They're at number 11. Indianapolis is at number 6. But I'm just saying, these are the kind of things you got to think about if Miami's targeting a quarterback. If somebody within your conference is targeting another quarterback. If you're the New York Jets, you got to make sure you get it. All of that is stuff that's on our mind right now. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. One of the other things that took place was last night's basketball game with the Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all there was nothing to really be concerned about? I don't know how many times I got to explain this to people. Somehow, some way, y'all going to learn to listen to me. But if you are the Cleveland Browns, you got a lot to worry about. Let me assure you, the Toronto Raptors isn't one of those teams. I do not mean to be disrespectful in any way. I swear to you, I do not. But you cannot beat a LeBron James team when your best player is DeMar DeRozan. And it's not that DeMar DeRozan lacks talent, because he's a stud. And I have a lot of respect and admiration for him, his skill set, and what he brings to the table. My trepidation about DeMar DeRozan stems from one thing and one thing only. His size, the position that he plays, he doesn't have that strong of a perimeter shot. And if you don't have that, you're not beating LeBron James. I don't care what anybody says. They can slice it any way they want to. You're not beating LeBron James if you can't shoot the rock from long range. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan struggle come postseason time. And against LeBron and Cleveland, LeBron is their kryptonite. If Bradley Beal had a body like DeMar DeRozan, that height, that size, it would be more problematic for LeBron James because Bradley Beal can shoot. The problem is that DeMar DeRozan plays a similar position to LeBron, and when it's time, LeBron can clamp down on him. And I don't care what you're doing as a team, Toronto-wise, with this second unit, with what Masai Ujiri has built, along with Dwayne Casey coaching. It don't matter. It does not matter. In the end, what it comes down to, more than anything, is this reality. this team, this Toronto Raptors team, as formidable as they are, is tailor-made for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Boston missed a big-time opportunity last night losing to Milwaukee. They play the Raptors tonight. Because the Raptors had lost and Boston had won, Boston would have been a game out in the East for the number 1 seed playing Toronto tonight. And that would have boded well for them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And because it did not work out that way, this is what you have. Toronto is the number 1, Boston is the number 2 seed, and that's probably the way that it will end. 888-SAY-ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to switch gears for a quick second here. Today is April 4th. It marks the 50th anniversary. It was 50 years to this day that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. In today's New York Daily News, I cannot emphasize enough what an absolute outstanding column Caron J. Phillips, I hope I'm pronouncing his first name right, it's spelled C-A-R-R-O-N, Caron J. Phillips. I read him all the time, but I've never heard his name pronounced, so I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. If I didn't and he's listening, my apologies. But in today's New York Daily News, on the 50th anniversary of MLK's assassination, remember him for who he was and not as a prop to support flawed agendas. That is the headline. Written, highlighting a column written by Caron J. Phillips in today's New York Daily News. The column is nothing short of sensational. It's an absolutely outstanding column written by this man. And I would encourage everyone, and I do mean everyone, to go and read it in today's New York Daily News. Mr. Phillips starts off the column writing, on this day 50 years ago, an unarmed black man was shot to death by white men. And it happened today. You would probably scroll past his name on one of your social media platforms, and it would look like this, hashtag Martin Luther King Jr. But he went on talking about how certain things are hypocritical. That's a slap in the face to one of the greatest spirits to ever walk this earth. And when you listen to some of the things that he said, particularly a quote, because this relates to the Colin Kaepernicks of the world and beyond. Not just to unarmed black men being shot, not just to violence that's getting perpetrated in the streets, not just to protests and things of that nature that are taking place before our very eyes. But there was one particular quote that was so powerful that I felt the need to read this to you all. He says in his column, while the I Have a Dream speech is thought to be King's most popular one, there's a section from an open letter he wrote a few months earlier called Letter from a Birmingham Jail that foreshadowed a foe that African Americans have been hampered by since slavery. And he called it the white moderate. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you're white, black, or beyond, listen to the breakdown of this quote. A letter from a Birmingham jail written by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it's a paragraph, and I'll read it to you now. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in this stride toward freedom is not the white citizen counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Think about that. Think about that long and hard. I had to take a look in the mirror and think about myself in a number of times. I talked about knowing the game, knowing when to play the game and when not to, thinking about Colin Kaepernick and some of the things that he did to derail or dilute his own arguments, along with those who support him in his position. I haven't changed my stance on a multitude of things one bit, but that quote from Martin Luther King Jr. in his letter from a Birmingham jail certainly gave me cause to pause and to think about a lot of things, and more importantly, harness and harbor empathy and elevate my level of understanding for those who are a bit more dogged in their approach towards getting things done. On this particular day, on this very show, it was incredibly important for me to point that out. Letter from a Birmingham jail by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Printed in today's column of the New York Daily News by Karan J. Phillips. It's an absolute must read, and I applaud him for the job he did with this column today.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people!
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A!
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Raleigh in Indiana. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Raleigh. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me, man.
All right. Hey, I'm just a casual fan, so I don't want you to beat me up. But I just wanted to know, why won't Pittsburgh find a quarterback to back up Ben Roethlisberger?
What do you mean beat you up? What do you mean beat you up? I'm right with you.
Well, I've heard you.
They desperately need a quarterback.
Heard you tell some callers, I think, frankly, that was a stupid call. So I don't want you to. Just wondering.
If it's a stupid call, I'm going to call it a stupid call, but this is not stupid. I'm right with you. Listen, Big Ben Roethlisberger was talking about retiring, man.
Right.
I mean, he talking about he didn't want to play no more.
Yeah, he's flaky now, and they are already talking about running the coach out on the rail already, so why won't they take a quarterback like San Francisco did or Green Bay did with Aaron Rodgers and Steve Young?
Well, we got to look at what's available out there. We've only really heard about 5 quarterbacks. We've heard about the Josh Allens, the Josh Rosens, the Sam Darnolds, the Baker Mayfields, and then on the outside looking in as a Lamar Jackson. We've heard about that. We haven't really heard about anybody else at the quarterback position. The Steelers got the 28th overall pick in the first round of the NFL draft, so we got to wonder what they're going to bring to the table. They've got the 60th pick in the second round as well, and so we got to look at it from that perspective. Obviously, you can find a diamond in the rough. You can find you can find lightning in a bottle, I guess. I understand how that goes, but right now, when you got the 28th overall pick, it's pretty hard to really zero in on a quarterback, because any quarterback worth its salt it's believed they would be gone by then. But then again, there's plenty of successful quarterbacks that have been picked in the second round, the third round, and beyond.
Exactly. So I'm wondering why not the guy out of Louisville, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, because he probably will be gone by number one. Number two, and more importantly, one would argue, since Big Ben Roethlisberger has stated he's hell-bent on coming back and his zest for football has returned, I think the primary objective for the Steelers would be addressing their secondary, because their secondary is so suspect. And that's what we got to be real about here, man. We got to be real about that, Raleigh. The Steelers secondary flat out stinks.
Yeah.
There's no way around this.
That's very true.
You understand?
One more question, one basketball question.
Go ahead.
Why is it that LeBron James is so disliked And this young man has been nothing but a statesman since he's left high school. When he left high school, he came under scrutiny. Why did his mother buy him a Hummer?
Hold it. Where's your justification for him being disliked? He might be scrutinized, but I think that LeBron is an iconic figure for a reason. The world over, he's highly respected. It's just that people recognize that he's lost 5 NBA finals.
That's where I'm going. Okay, but at least he's gone to 5. But he's gone to 5. I mean, you know how hard it is to get to 5 NBA finals?
No. Do you? Did you play the NBA?
No.
Exactly. So in other words, what I'm trying to say to you is don't get caught up in that, Riley. The bottom line is this. LeBron James is a great statesman. He's a phenomenal basketball ambassador. He's an incredible role model. Good man, good father, good husband. All of that other stuff is true, okay? As far as we know. What's wrong with us judging him about basketball? He's universally recognized as the greatest player in the world. We religiously say that. What's wrong with then highlighting, but you 3 and 5 in the NBA Finals? What's wrong with that? He does play this profession. He don't play in the dark. He plays in front of all of us. What's wrong with that?
When he won the finals against Steph Curry and them boys.
Well, did anybody ignore it? Did anybody ignore that, Riley, when he won? When he won, did we not praise him for winning?
No. You guys said that the only reason he won was because the one guy got hurt. First of all, I said that, and I stand by that. It doesn't take away from the greatness of LeBron. What I said was that the Cleveland Cavaliers was given a stimulus package by Adam Silver in the NBA because Cleveland was down 2-1. Lost game 4 on their home court in Cleveland, going back to the Oracle for a game 5, and then Draymond Green got suspended. That's what I said. There wasn't supposed to be a game 6 or 7. They had the momentum, and they had lost because they had lost game 4 in Cleveland. That's not disrespecting. Hold on. That's not disrespecting LeBron. You want to wear pom-poms, you better call another show. I'm going to call it like it is. When he deserves credit, I'll give it to him. When he doesn't, I won't. LeBron is a 3-time champion. He deserves credit for that. He's lost 5 NBA finals. I've even taken away a couple of finals losses for him. He wasn't supposed to beat San Antonio the first time around. I don't even hold that against him. But you ain't going to call up here and act like he's a victim because people are pointing out of all the great things we point out about him. When we highlight the fact that he lost in the NBA Finals, we're killing him. You ain't getting away with that, Riley. Call another station. Have a nice day. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. We'll continue talking about some NBA stuff. I got to get into something that I saw last night with the OKC Thunder against the Golden State Warriors. I also got to get a little bit into Triple G. His fight with Canelo Alvarez being canceled for Cinco de Mayo because Canelo Alvarez obviously had issues. The Nevada State Athletic Commission filed a complaint against him. He tested positive twice in February. Bad meat in Mexico, he said, contaminated his blood and ultimately enabled him to test positive for PEDs, et cetera, et cetera. In the end, how good or bad is this for boxing? Anthony Joshua challenging Deontay Wilder after his 12-round decision win Saturday night in the UK. Deontay Wilder has gladly accepted. The only thing standing in the way of the promoters. What about that? Plus, the Houston Rockets. I know there's a lot of people that think they can beat the Golden State Warriors. What I find hard to believe is that there are people who are actually saying they deserve to be the favorites.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man,
I'm Stephen A.
you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.